Welcome to this episode of the UnNoticed Entrepreneur. Daniel Gomez tells me that he's going to follow me wherever I lead the conversation. Daniel Gomez, you're in San Antonio, Texas. Welcome to the show.
Jim, James, thank you so much for having me. I ate my special Wheaties this morning just to bring you and the UK fire today. So thank you for having me here, my friend.
Well, mate, thank you. And then, of course, if you've got Wheaties in England, we've got Weetabix. We say, can you manage three was the challenge when we were kids. And looking at Daniel, he's a fit, young, handsome young man. And he's going to talk to us about the millionaire mindset. He's actually written a new book called The Making of the Millionaire Mindset, which he's holding up for anybody that wants to look at it on YouTube. Building a life of wealth, building a life of abundance and wealth. Daniel, tell us, surely everyone that becomes a millionaire has a millionaire mindset, right? I mean, one goes with the other. You make that much money because you believe you should make that much money, and you're happy the whole way. True or not true?
Well, you're not happy the whole way because there is some times of adversity. I call it the journey of becoming, right? You got to think like a millionaire before you become a millionaire. And many people, they want to be a millionaire, but they don't want to think like one, right? You have to change your brain. If you don't change your brain, nothing changes. And when I wrote the book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, it's really to give people the right heart, the right approach, the right attitude in becoming a millionaire God's way, so they don't self-implode, so they don't self-destruct, Jim. And many people, they don't want to be successful. They want to just stay under the radar. We've been conditioned to be unnoticed. What an irony, right? We've been conditioned to be unnoticed. We've been conditioned here in America, fly under the radar, don't brag, don't show off. So when it comes to your relationship with yourself, with money, we deminimize it and we undervalue who we are. And in return, we create this poor self-image of ourselves, and we never become who and what God created us to be, Jim.
Well, Daniel Gomez, I'm surprised to hear you say that in America, people are taught to kind of go under the radar screen. Certainly in the UK, the idea is to be, discreet to the point of being invisible, actually, sometimes. So let's just go through. You've got a few things in there. You talk about the mind first, and then you also talk about the heart and about the approach. Having the millionaire's mindset, I personally have been through a fairly rough 5 years, relocation, COVID, rebuild. How do you help people to get into that mindset of being a millionaire? Or first of all, what is the mindset of a millionaire? Because most of us are struggling with just kind of meeting the bills, getting the kids to school. How do you define a millionaire mindset, Daniel? Let's start there.
Well, the thing is, I speak all over the world. I'm a professional keynote speaker. I've spoken in the UK. I've spoken in Asia. I've spoken Florida, Texas, all over the country, Hawaii. And the thing is this, over 90% of us think the same way. I've never met you in person, never talked to you and had a formal conversation, Jim, but I'm going to prove a point. I'm going to start a sentence and you're across the world for me. And I guarantee you're going to know the answer. You want to play along with me?
No, I'm happy to play along.
All right. I'm going to start it. You're going to finish it. Money doesn't grow on
trees.
Who do you think you
are?
The early bird gets the
worm.
You have to fly under the
radar.
How do you know that? And you're thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, and there's a decade, a generation in between us, but you still know that.
You're right, Dan.
Because as a society, we're conditioned to think in poverty. We're conditioned and programmed to think as factory workers, because when they developed the school systems here in America, the wealthy, the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, they had these huge factories. They had these huge textile mills. Well, who was going to fill them? They had to put us people in them, and that's why we were conditioned and controlled in our thinking. And that's why this breaks my heart. You know what the biggest lie we've been told as kids? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but
words will not.
Words will never hurt me, right?
Yeah, words will never hurt me.
And what hurts us? What hurts us more than anything else in this world, Jim?
Harsh words, right? Actually, denial of recognition, denial of love, right? Denial of self-worth. Those are actually what drive people to suicide, actually, aren't they? Rather
Yes.
than lack of material goods.
And we've been conditioned, right? The thing about what we're talking about. Like, this is the paradigm that runs over 90% of human beings in this world. I've never met you before, but you knew all the answers. Sticks and stones may break my bones. But I coach adult executive men, business owners that carry these words that their mom said. Why can't you be like your brother? Why can't you be more like your sister? And we have words that are carried by these men and women that their dad says, you're not beautiful. You're never going to do anything right. Can't you do anything right? Like these words, I mean, they stay with us and then they take root in our heart, in our soul. And then that's where the resentment, the bitterness, and that, why is that important? Because in the makings of a millionaire mind, I call it, right? What have you swept under the rug that you didn't think was a big issue, right? We sweep these words under the rug. We sweep things under the rug and we're like, oh, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me. But in all reality, all that stuff, the bitterness, the resentment, the anger, the envy, the hurt, we sweep it under the rug and it comes up sooner or later in our life. We just don't recognize it. That's what it is. We it shows up as alcoholism. It shows up as a food addiction, overweight, obesity. And that's why people never live the life they want. And they wonder why they're broke and why they're poor, because they've never been taught to drink to the next level of thinking. And right, I always say this, right? You got to think like a millionaire before you become a millionaire. And the main thing is you have to think and see yourself in the image of a successful human being where you can be, do, and have anything you want to do. And most people don't know how to think that way for themselves.
Well, Daniel, that's why I'm so delighted to have you on the show, because for most of us, I put myself in that category as well. It feels as though we're so busy dealing with frankly, the day-to-day of keeping things on the road, keeping the business going, the kids happy, paying the bills. It feels like trench warfare on the whole, not like millionaire mindset, just dabbling with a few details. How do we go from feeling somewhat embattled and feeling quite often vindicated that those harsh words are coming to fruition, right? People say you're not worth anything
Yes.
great. When you find yourself not worth anything great, you go, you know what? They were right. How do you break out of that loop, Daniel?
It's easy. It's easy, but it's hard for many people. And it's easy because the moment that Daniel Gomez Inspires, put God first, then family, then business, our business exploded. The younger Daniel was business, friends, maybe family, maybe God, in that order. And I remember when my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, and I made the decision to leave the automotive industry. I walked away from a $250,000 a year job to take care of her. And I had the intentions of going back, Jim, to the automotive industry. But in that moment, in that season, I did some self-reflection, right? My wife made a decision to have a double mastectomy. She got depressed for a season, and I either had to hire somebody to take care of her or I had to man up and take care of her, and I took care of her. But in that same time of her having two major surgeries and me being there just watching TV that was junk TV, trash TV is what I call it, my mind started racing and said, this isn't going to work. And as I started reading the book for the first time in many years, all these emotions started stirring up. And I looked in the bathroom mirror, Jim, and I didn't like who Daniel Gomez Inspires had become. I had hurt, I had shame, I had resentment, I had anger, unforgiveness. And that's where the process started almost 7 years ago. And little did I know this, is right. Little did I know that all that was affecting me because I never dealt with it. And that's why I talk about it in the book. What have you swept under the rug that's keeping you from being successful? Because it hinders you. And when this happened, the inclination, the idea said, Kyle, I want you to be, this is what God dropped in my heart. I want you to be a motivational speaker. My wife thought I was crazy, Jim. She laughed at me. And not, she didn't laugh at me. She just like, she supported me because she didn't have a choice, right? She was going through her own journey and she's a loving wife. And not that she had to, not that she was forced to, but she said, if you think you can do it, do it. And I was just crazy enough to believe in it. But people laughed at me, Jim. People are going to laugh at you before they applaud you. And for that reason, I really felt it was God, and it was. I just jumped 2 feet in. I burned all the ships. They didn't smart not. I just jumped in head, and 7 years later, going on 7 years, next January, we have $1 million business. We have a director of operations. We have a director of sales, and it's just we're just growing. And the thing is, this is that I've challenged myself, and a huge part of the millionaire mind is knowing that God is my source. And when God is your source, it gives you the foundation to understand that what you're going through, it's either a lesson to make you stronger, to make you better, right? Because everybody prays for success, but they don't have we don't have the millionaire's capacity. We don't have the millionaire's strength to handle that level of success. And you know it, and I know it. You just mentioned, right? Many people during COVID, the weak-minded, the ones with broken foundations, all those flaws in the foundations were exposed. Many speakers, many coaches, many restaurants, many brick and mortar businesses, they collapsed under the pressure because now they couldn't sustain the weight for a certain period of time, and they collapsed. And a big part of the makings of a millionaire mind, having that millionaire mindset, having your brain change, is now you have a thicker understanding. You have mental fortitude. And
So,
most people don't have mental fortitude, Jim.
so Daniel, there's a lot in there. And first of all, so sorry to hear about your wife's cancer, and delighted to hear. I believe that she's in remission and she's well now. And you've even got a charitable foundation, haven't you? I think
Yes,
in her name.
she tells me what to do now.
Yeah. Well, some wives have always told their husbands what to do. So you had some of your marriage in liberty, but there are a couple of things I wanted to ask you about there. First of all, you talked about faith and really the change in order, and the second thing you talked about is a millionaire mindset. Now, to some degree, some of us, maybe those of us that sort of more atheist on this side of the Atlantic, may say, well, how can you align, if you like, the godliness, the aspirations around religion, and the millionaire mindset, which one might have thought is around routine and around focus and around, financial
Well, the
acumen.
thing is this. See, that's the misconception that
Yeah,
people have.
yeah, take us there because that's very
I'm not
interesting.
about. It's not about religion, right? I hate religion. I
Okay,
think
good.
religion sucks, to be honest with you,
Right.
because religion is man-made. Religion is not God's doing.
Mm,
That's man's
it's
doing. Let's
man's
get that straight.
interpretation, right? Really.
So when
Yeah.
people say, I hate religion, I'm not religious. Well, great. I'm not religious either.
Right.
I'm here to talk to you about a relationship. Like, right, me and you are building a relationship.
Yep.
Daniel Gomez Inspires and Jim James, we're building a relationship. Well, that's what it is with God. And the moment you build that relationship with God and you accept Jesus Christ as your savior, what happens is you stop to try, right? The old Daniel would do everything on his own. Now I don't do everything on my own because I know that God is my source. So the fact of when I'm making a big decision, like right now, we're buying a huge $1 million property on the lake for our business. And it's a million. I mean, it's a real $1 million. And never did I ever fathom that when I was a kid that, man, I was going to be having a lake house and buy $1 million home. And now, as
Congratulations.
my
That's
mind started
fantastic.
changing,
Yeah.
4 years ago, I started really wanting a lake house. I started really believing it for myself. I really said, okay, it's time to be unnoticed, right? I've been unnoticed for so long. Now it's time to make some bigger moves, and you got to bet on yourself. And millionaires envision that millionaire vision. We take those millionaire risks, and many people don't want to risk that big, right? But the thing is this, I'm at total peace with it because I know that even though it's the most expensive property, right? The house that we're in right now, when we bought it, it was $500,000. And people thought I was crazy because we bought it during COVID. We sold our old house. Our other house was paid off. We sold it for like $250,000. We kept some of that money, and the other part, we use it in our new property that we have here where our studio is. And it was $500,000. And the thing was, 5 years ago, I would have been scared to buy a $500,000 home. Right? I'm being totally honest. I would have been
Yeah, you've
scared
been.
about
Yeah.
it. So it's not that you don't have these feelings, you don't have these emotions that arise, but you understand that God is bigger than those emotions and your faith is bigger than that. So you move forward. And I can tell you that right now, if we wanted to pay off our house, this one, we don't know that much on it. We could pay it off, but it's a tax write-off. We have tax benefits. So it's like we've never been late on a mortgage, but
Right.
you got to challenge yourself.
So,
Our new house is double this house. And the beautiful thing is, it's like, was I a little bit like, when the lady had told me, well, it's going to be $1 million. a million something. And I was like, okay, we'll take it. Like, I didn't even second guess it because I had the down payment. I had seen another house. I'm in San Antonio. Austin, another city's about an hour and a half away from us, maybe 2 hours, depending on traffic. The lake houses up there run about 3 to 4 million. And we had gone to see them, right? This is a millionaire hack right here. I want you to get this, ladies and gentlemen. This is a millionaire hack. I went last year because God woke me up one Sunday. He goes, go to Austin, go look at lake houses. And we're looking at these houses. It's a beautiful scenery, right? So I'm taking in these optics, Jim. And what most Americans, most human beings don't realize is our eyes take in 1 million optics a second. You heard me right? The human eye takes in over 1 million optics a second. So me and my wife going out there and spending 3 or 4 hours out there having lunch, looking at these homes, we primed the pump. And you and I both know nothing works without being primed, right? You can't pump out oil, you can't pump out gas. You got to prime the pump. So when you go to these places that maybe are bigger than when you've ever been, I'm there at the lake taking all this and I'm priming the pump. And I'll be honest with you, at that moment a year ago, actually less than a year ago, the house that we seen, one of them was 3, one of them was 4 million. And I was like, man, it just seemed too far. It seemed out of reach, but I still believed it, right? So God, you brought me here when I'm believing in it. We got the same house because the property that we're at, it's nicer, bigger for 25% of the cost.
And so congratulations on the home. Sounds well deserved. I'm sure your wife will enjoy getting you to do the house cleaning there if she's in charge. But she'll like, come on, Daniel. God tells you one thing and your wife tells you something else. And I guess I know in my household who gets to delegate first. But coming back to mindset, help me to understand, you've talked about, if you like, sort of ambition, confidence. There's a reassurance, if you like, that you're having, a sort of a bountiness or a bountiful perspective with sort of God as your resource. From a mindset point of view, how are you helping people that you coach to overcome those voices, to feel that narrative about themselves that says, yes, I'm worth it, and to avoid the voices that might keep competing with that positive voice? Because that's often the problem, isn't it? That maybe they have a mindset for half an hour or an hour when they're on a conversation with somebody, but then they have a relapse. So Daniel Gomez, how do you help with that?
Well, the thing is, right, finding out what's at the root cause. So many times in our society, we treat the symptom. And it's time to stop treating the symptom. It's what's the root cause, right? What is the root cause of a person's belief system, as a pain? Maybe it might have been a trauma. It might have been just something that they experienced, right? Most people think this. When I ask a person this is, okay, is your brain and your mind the same thing? And everybody says yes, yes, and it's not. Your brain is actually part of your mind, but your mind is the experiences you've had, it's traumas you've gone through, and which includes the brain, which is a CPU that holds everything. But a lot of times people have traumas in their bodies and they don't even realize it. And it's really going to the root cause of, okay, why do you have this belief system? And really going deeper. And this is the truth. Most people don't want to go deeper. They don't want to talk about those hard issues. And guess what? Guess where all that crap is buried at? Deep down inside of us. And most people never deal with it. That's why you hear people that say, man, I forgot about my childhood. Why? Because it's a way for them to protect themselves from the molestation, the sex abuse, the beats, the domestic violence as a kid, whatever it might be. And it's really going into the paradigm, right? Because the truth is this is our paradigm runs our lives. And it's figuring out what's the paradigm. And like I said, it's not that it's easy, because there's every approach to every executive or business owner, human beings different, because we all have had our own experiences. But it's really understanding the fundamentals that we all have traumas. We all have belief systems that don't serve us. And what are the two biggest ones that are hurting us? And then the big one is really forgiving. If I've seen something that really hinders people, it's unforgiveness. Unforgiveness towards your mom, towards your dad.
The perpetrator, presumably the perpetrator of that the ill that befell you. And you talk in your book about,
Let me
sorry,
finish this, right?
yeah,
The biggest person to forgive, Jim, is guess who?
yourself.
Us.
Yeah.
Yes. So we walk like as grown men and women, executives, business owners, millionaire producers, we walk around with shame, guilt, and regret. And these things lower our frequency and it hinders us from going to the next level.
Mm.
And that's why many people self-sabotage and they don't even realize it.
Self-sabotage, that's something that we're all trying to get out of, isn't it? What about, you talk about approach in your book. Is this the time to address self-sabotage? Is that an approach issue? How do we line it up differently? Because also what happens is that we have around us, business relationships, family, social relationships that kind of anchor in how we feel about ourselves, don't we? And yet,
Yeah.
if we need a new mindset, what new approach do we need, Daniel? And how, from a practical point of view, do we put that into practice?
Well, it goes to what I said a little bit earlier. Part of it is, right, you got to go out there and prime the pump. I say this, right? You got to go out there and touch your dream, touch your vision, smell the dream, smell the vision,
Okay.
feel it, touch it.
Right. Go and
And
visit those $1 million lakefront houses, for example, right?
yes,
Yep.
or just that, right? That's a big part of it. But then the thing is this, is that when you put yourself in these environments, that's where the breakthrough happens. Because
Mm.
many people, they have the belief systems that they have the life that they have. Why? Because where did they get this from? The environment they grew up in. So if you grow up in a certain environment and then you put yourself in that same environment, it's just you're older now. Well, nothing's ever going to change. But now, if you pick yourself up and you put yourself in a different environment with a higher quality of human being, right? This is don't mistake what I'm saying here. It's not that other people are better. They just have a higher standard of living and a higher quality of life because they think at a higher level. And most people, right? This is what happens. This is a mistake that happens a lot of times. We're here in this environment, low frequency. God's trying to elevate us and go to this higher environment with higher standards. And then this is what we say. This is what I talk about in the book. I don't belong. I don't belong. It doesn't feel right. Well, it doesn't feel right. Of course not, because it's a higher frequency. So there's going to be what you got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is there's going to be a transition from a poverty consciousness to that millionaire mind consciousness. As your brain changes, there's a transition. Of course, this is lower level frequency, right? You're never going to get millionaire results with 10-cent energy. Let me say that again. You're never going to get millionaire results with 10-cent energy. So the higher the result, the higher the win, you have to have that high energy every day to get that result. Well, where does that energy come from? That higher level of environment that we need to be in. And for me, it was eating at nicer restaurants, paying more for a hotel room instead of looking for the Motel 6, right? Or the Days Inn or the cheap Roach Motel. No, put yourself in the Hiltons, put yourself in those Ritz-Carltons. Why? Well, if my think about this, where am I going to run into my ideal client, Jim? At a Motel 6 or at the Ritz-Carlton?
Yeah, I think that's such a good reminder as well, Daniel, that we put ourselves into positions that aren't necessarily aspirational. We're feeling low in self-confidence or anxious about money. We trade down. My wife was convinced that we should buy a Lexus. And I said, oh, we can't really afford a Lexus. We went to the Lexus showroom. Actually, we bought a Lexus on the spot. Beautiful dream car, actually. And of course, we can afford it, but we could have easily trended downwards in the kind of car stakes as one example. And then you feel less successful because you're driving a car that you don't really have any feeling of pride about, right? So I love your idea of actually getting into the places and the spaces where you're going to be surrounded by the people and the things and you call it the energy, right? The high frequency that will then get your own energy levels up. That's fantastic.
Well, to your point, because I have a story similar to what you just said. Uh, when we started our business, I sold a lot of stuff off because I had to work my way back up. Right? I had expensive toys, got rid of everything because, right, my wife was going through her
Yeah.
journey, and just to be, I knew it was going to take a sacrifice in our business. Well, then it came to the point where, like, I felt like God says, start up leveling your game. So I was going to buy a Corvette. There was no Corvette. It was during 2020, during COVID. And then we came across a Porsche. So, but the whole thing was this: if I wanted a higher, right? How can I show up to a country club in a Ford Fusion and want somebody to pay me 10,000 or 20,000 for coaching? I'm driving up in a Ford Fusion.
Yeah.
What's their perception of me? So as I really prayed about this, and right, a lot of my strategies come from prayer, Jim, God first. I said, God, if this is of you, like, show me the way. And I bought a beautiful black Porsche, amazing. But the reason I bought it is because I wanted a higher quality of coaching client. And guess what happened? As soon as I got the car, my frequency went up, my energy went up. Now I go to the country clubs. They don't even stop me. Yes, sir, they just wave you in. But you go in
Yes.
a Ford Fusion, they stop you.
Yes. Yeah.
So the thing is, this is, once I got that car, because I have an abundance mindset, our revenue went up.
I'll always remember Alan Weiss, who wrote Million Dollar Consulting and Summit Consulting. He wrote in his book that he told his wife that he was only going to fly business class and first class and only going to wear the most expensive suits and stay in the most expensive hotels. And his wife said, but we can't afford it. He said, I know, but if I don't go there, I'm never going to meet the people that will become my clients that will enable us to afford it one day. And so he started out very much from that mindset, Daniel, that you're talking about, of a millionaire mindset, putting himself in the places with the people, with the things that, of course, now he has them by right, as you do as well, which is fantastic. I'm a bit intrigued that God got you to buy a Porsche rather than a Jaguar. Of course, being an Englishman, we'd have thought. I'd hate to think that God is on the side of the German car makers, not the British. But there we
Well,
are.
actually, on a good thing, we have a black Jaguar now.
Oh, now you're just showing off. Now you're upsetting me. Now I'm coming to Texas. Dan, it sounds like you are living the life. So, if there is a piece of advice that you'd give the entrepreneur who is out there, who's kind of knows that they're worth more, but has been like you, knocked back for whatever reason, family, health, a legal issue, business issue, and they're trying to get that millionaire mindset in place, but more importantly, trying to get the millionaire lifestyle back in place. What would be your tip? Because often we can live with a millionaire mindset, but it kind of doesn't translate to a millionaire lifestyle. What piece of advice
Yes,
would you give, Daniel?
we got to believe you deserve it. You got to believe you're worth it. Let me say that again. You have to believe that you deserve it. You have to believe that you're worth it. And this is the truth. It's mindset, brain changing, right? You got to change your brain mindset, change your brain, then skill set, then the tool set comes along. But so many people want the skill set with the wrong mindset, and it's never going to work because they don't know what to do with it because they don't think the right way. So they never develop the tool set, and they have the wrong tools. So this is the $1,000,000 answer. We don't rise to our level of skill set. We don't rise to our level of knowledge. We fall to what we believe we deserve. You're never going to receive something you don't believe you deserve. I believe I deserve that lake house. I believe I deserve to have multiple mansions in different states. I believe I deserve to have a jet soon. I believe this. But you're never going to receive something you don't believe you deserve. And I deserve it because I help people. I love changing in people's lives, making their lives better, making people see their worth. Like, that's what I do for a living. And why wouldn't I deserve it if I'm helping people, if I'm helping society?
Daniel, it's a noble mission, and frankly, a very, very attractive vision that you've got there as well for yourself and for your life. I think certainly I can take a leaf out of your book. And if people want to take more than just a leaf out of your book and buy the whole thing, Daniel, Do you want to tell us where people can buy your book?
Yeah, they can go to Audible, right? It's on Audible right now. You can go to Amazon and you can order the paperback version there on Amazon. And then we have the download the Audible version available also. And then what I want to do for your community, for your people here and UnNoticed is send me an email, Daniel at danielgomezspeaker.com, and put subject line UnNoticed podcast. And I'm going to give your audience a complimentary 30-minute discovery session and see what we can do to help them crack through those limiting beliefs. My gift to your audience, 30 minutes at no cost to them, just to pour into them and love on them and coach them through whatever they need coaching through. And that's my gift, Daniel at danielgomezspeaker.com. And just put in UnNoticed podcast and you'll get the complimentary discovery session. And I'll send them the link and we can set them up.
Daniel,
and then you can follow me on social media. All my handles are Daniel Gomez Inspires on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. It's Daniel Gomez, and I'm based out of San Antonio, Texas. So we'd love to connect with you and just see how we can serve you and your audience, because we love helping people here, Jim.
Daniel, that really comes across. Thank you. That's a very generous offer. And I didn't know before Daniel came on the show he's going to offer that. So very, very grateful, Daniel, that you do that. And of course, we'll put your details in the show notes as well and share that as around. And I've got Audible, so I know what my next book is going to be. So I've just listened to the was it Herb Daniel Ecker, the Herb Ecker book. So I'll be looking forward to listening to yours, Daniel Gomez. Daniel, it's such a huge topic and you've got such an amazing amount of wisdom. I hate to make this just a short podcast, but I try and just get amazing people like yourself on the show so that people can get to know that you exist and then connect them to you. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me here. I'm honored to be on your UnNoticed podcast, serving the UK, serving your region of the world in Europe. So thank you for having me, and I'm honored to be here and would love to come back someday soon whenever you see fit, just to add more value.
Daniel, well, love to also come to San Antonio and try out that lake house and the Jaguar in the country club. I think.
Yes. Hey, Jim, I would love to host you at one of our masterminds, so we can definitely make that happen.
Mate, I can wear the hat and everything, and I can get a millionaire mindset. Daniel, thank you so much. I mean, and of course, when you come to England, we'd love to welcome you and take care of you equally well. So thank you, Daniel, for coming on the show.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, everybody. God bless y'all.
And, we've been blessed. Daniel Gomez has reached out and, amazing opportunity to have him on the show, because this is a man who gets paid a great deal of money to be on stage. And as he says, to serve and to help others. And I think one of the key takeaways for me is this mindset, really, that it all starts with mindset. There is no point having the skills or the money, really, if you don't have the mindset. And that if you're serving others, then you deserve to have a millionaire lifestyle and the lifestyle that you want as well. It's a little bit of a different topic to the one we normally have on the show around getting noticed, but I had the opportunity to have Daniel on the show, so I really wanted to get him here, because getting noticed is a function of mindset. And if you don't have the mindset right, then you won't get noticed for the right reasons as well. So thank you so much for taking your time to join me, Jim James, here in Wiltshire with Daniel Gomez in San Antonio, Texas. And until we meet again, I just encourage you to keep on communicating.